Thank you so much for being out with us today. My name is Courtney Wallace. I'm with our Public Affairs Department with BNSF Railway and have the great honor and privilege to represent BNSF today and serve as your MC. Really appreciate everyone coming out on a cold November day. Luckily, we're not having too bad of weather, it's just cold, and so we are going to keep the flap behind me close so we don't run out these wonderful heaters. Today's a really important day for us at BNSF Railway, along with our partners at the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency and HOTSTART. As a railroad, we are one of the most efficient and environmentally ways to run freight on land, and as part of our commitment to improving our environmental performance, we look at all aspects of our operations, including our locomotives, which is really the star of today's show. You'll hear more about the program from some of our great speakers today, and so I won't hold up that, but following today's event, what we'll do is we'll go out, you'll get a chance to go look at the locomotive, look at the technology on there, and really learn a little bit more about our efforts and our partnership with the Clean Air Agency and with HOTSTART to really make improvements in emissions here at our yards in Eastern Washington. So with that, I would like to introduce Terry Judge. He is a longtime Spokane resident. He is the CEO of HOTSTART. He joined HOTSTART in February of 2001 as the Director of Sales and Marketing. In 2011, he was selected by the family owners to become the next Chief Executive, and he now leads a company of 210 employees, and his vision to be the world leader in engine heating. So please join me in welcoming Terry Judge.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you guys all for coming out today. It's freezing cold out there. What a great day to talk about heaters and heating systems. So I'm here with my fellow hot starters today. We're all very excited about this project. It's so neat to see our technology that's installed on a BNSF locomotive that's just a few blocks down the street from our facility where we develop and manufacture these products. This project is all about reducing idling. Reducing idling saves fuel and reduces emissions. Traditionally, in temperatures like these, locomotives are left idling to avoid the challenge of starting up that cold engine the next morning or after a weekend. What you're hearing back there is our little unit that's running, purring away, sipping a half gallon of fuel an hour instead of 4 gallons an hour that a locomotive will typically consume when idling. So what we do is our technology will keep that locomotive engine above 100 degrees Fahrenheit while that engine is shut down. Our system heats and circulates both the locomotive coolant and the locomotive oil while charging the batteries. So the locomotive can stay shut down for a long period of time, like last night or over a weekend in frigid weather, and be easily restarted when it's ready for use. HOTSTART's experience in the railroad industry goes back to 1965 when we developed our first electric-powered engine heating system. Since then, railroads have purchased over 4,000 of these systems. Electric systems are great for locomotives that can plug into wayside electrical power, but there are many times when a locomotive needs to be shut down in the middle of a rail yard or in a remote area where wayside power is not available. To solve this, HOTSTART began developing a standalone system in 1996. Our first APU was installed in 1998 on a locomotive operated by the Pend Oreille Valley Railroad. The railroad eliminated idling and saved 400 gallons of fuel per week. More and more railroads are using our technology to eliminate idling and save fuel. We're really excited to have BNSF as a customer because they are by far the biggest railroad on our customer list, and there's so much potential to help them reduce idling, save fuel, reduce emissions. Not only here in Spokane, but across the country with their network of 32,000 miles of track and 7,400 locomotives. I'd like to wrap up by thanking everybody who's involved in this project. First, all the people at HOTSTART, people like Jason Barnes with 35 years at HOTSTART, Mike Jenke with 40 years of experience with HOTSTART, supporting our railroad customers, Mike Abbott with 16 years of experience with HOTSTART, who's our lead design engineer on this technology. Also the Spokane Clean Air Agency, especially Lisa Woodard. 10 years ago, she came knocking on our door to learn more about idle reduction technology because she read about the project we did with BNSF back in Chicago in 2002 and the project we did in Vancouver with BNSF in 2004. Also the Pend Oreille Valley Railroad, especially Brad Bird. Thank you for all the testing, Brad and Pend Oreille Valley, going back to our first prototype in 1998. And thanks for installing these systems on the BNSF locomotives for this project. Finally, BNSF. Thank BNSF for all the efforts to reduce idling. BNSF was the first railroad to be awarded an EPA-funded project to reduce idling, which we did together back in Chicago in 2002. They were the first railroad to integrate our technology with an AESS system to further reduce idling. They were the first railroad to present a technical paper about our technology at an industry conference to educate other railroads about reducing idling. Now, they're the first railroad to use our technology right here in Spokane. Spokane community is fortunate to have such a good neighbor that cares about our environment and is dedicated to reducing idling. Thank you all for everything you've done in this exciting project.
Thank you, Terry. And now, if you'll join me in welcoming Commissioner Al French. He is the chair of the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency, and he's a longtime advocate for clean air, our environment, and a huge advocate for the city of Spokane and for the county. So please join me in welcoming Commissioner French.
Well, thank you, Courtney. It's my pleasure to be here today and to help create or help celebrate a fantastic project that's a result of a public-private partnership. I serve as the chair of the board of the Regional Clean Air Agency, and I'm joined here today by one of my fellow board members, Tom Bradabo, here in the front, and also our new director, Julie Oliver, who's coming to the agency from the other side of the state. So, Spokane Clean Air, with technical assistance from the Washington State Department of Ecology, has been working with BNSF and HOTSTART on this idle reduction project that we've just heard details about from Terry Judge. With my air quality hat on, I can share with you that any project that aims to reduce diesel particulate emissions in our community is a public health victory. Microscopic diesel particulates are harmful to the breath and are considered toxic. With all 11 locomotives retrofitted, over 22 tons of pollutants, including diesel particulates, hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, and carbon monoxide, will be reduced. These reductions will benefit both Spokane and Pasco, where the locomotives operate. Today's new diesel locomotive engines are much cleaner, which is why the focus of this project is retrofitting the much older generation engines, some of which operate in Spokane and Pasco rail yards for decades. These switchers also tend to remain in idle mode during the cold weather in order to maintain their system requirements. This project basically shuts down the main engine and kicks over to the auxiliary power unit. This significantly reduces fuel consumption and air pollutants. With my elected official hat on, I embrace these new types of public-private partnerships that utilize technology to solve the problems. And how appropriate that this technology, being used worldwide, was developed right here in Spokane County by HOTSTART, a company that's been in operation in the community since 1942. As Terry Judge has shared with you, HOTSTART is a worldwide leader in this industry, and we certainly appreciate the fact that they are one of the significant community partners here in Spokane region. We are proud to have such a company in Spokane, and we're also proud to be partners with BNSF in retrofitting these engines, and we look forward to many more opportunities to be able to improve service here in the region and to partner with BNSF as they provide excellent service to Spokane County and not only the state of Washington but the country. So great to be partners with you, and we look forward to a great relationship continuing in the future. With this, I'll turn the mic back over to Courtney.
Thank you, Commissioner. And please join me in welcoming Mike Stanfill with our environmental department at BNSF. Mike has 37 years in the rail industry. He's worked both in the engineering and environmental departments. His current role is working on the environmental aspects and permits for new construction. He also works on environmental planning and in company sustainability efforts. And he's been a critical part of this project. So please join me in welcoming Mike.
Thank you, Courtney. It's a pleasure for me to be here and represent BNSF and talk about this project. It was a wonderful project, and I actually had an opportunity to work on the two previous projects that Terry mentioned, the one in Chicago and the one in Vancouver. Through our partnership with Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency and HOTSTART, I used the word HOTSTART. That's not right any longer, is it? That's how old I am. We were able to make continuous strides in reducing emissions here in Spokane and Pasco. It was hard work to figure out how to make this project come together. It's difficult, in addition to keeping the locomotives where they can start back up. They don't have antifreeze, so locomotives don't have antifreeze, and so you can't shut it off when it's cold weather because it freezes and blocks and drains the water. So that's one of the reasons why they idle. So the addition of a HOTSTART system to it allows much less emissions to be emitted. So as we looked at this project and looked at this area, we don't really have switch engines that just reside in Spokane or Pasco. It's a regional operation, and trying to figure out something that was going to work for the region, we were able to identify the units in Pasco and here that are more or less captive to these two communities. So as we worked through that, through the tremendous effort that Lisa and Bill Dainsworth, as we were meeting and trying to decide how to move forward, it was a tremendous amount of work to really figure something out that was going to benefit both BNSF and the community in a sustainable manner. The idle reduction technology is a major part of emission reductions for BNSF. Currently, the other side of it, the normal emission reduction equipment, is called auto engine start-stop. And we are on over 95% of our whole fleet with that technology on it. We have roughly 300 or so more to do, and they are still kind of the yard locomotives. So those systems are being added continuously. We're working to get toward 100%. And then when we can match up with this other technology for the colder weather areas, it's a tremendous benefit to everyone. BNSF has made substantial investments in acquisition of more than 3,300 locomotives in the last 10 years, including 500 locomotives this year, all brand new, and all have the AESS systems on them. With all those purchases, we actually have the newest and cleanest locomotive fleet in North America. All of us at BNSF are committed to reducing environmental impacts. In fact, freight railroad is the most environmentally friendly way to move goods on land. We can move 1 ton of freight 500 miles burning 1 gallon of diesel fuel. That is 3 times better than trucks and reduces emissions by 2/3 compared to trucks. Railroads carry 40% of the nation's freight. Looking at greenhouse gas impacts, we are 2.3% of the total transportation-related greenhouse gas impacts in the United States. While proud of these efforts, we constantly look at new and innovative technologies that help us to improve our environmental performance. Examples. You heard a number of the first that we did working with HOTSTART, but we were the first railroad to use widespread electric cranes at some of our intermodal facilities. That's zero on-site emissions, plus reduce the number of hospital trucks within those facilities. As those cranes work, they actually generate some electricity as they're lowering containers, and they recharge the batteries on those crane systems and further reduce our energy consumption. We are also involved with testing low emissions liquefied natural gas locomotives, and you may have read about that currently. It's a big project involving both General Electric and EMD. We're wanting to understand the operational and economic issues associated with that so we can position ourselves, if it makes sense, to move toward this type of technology. We think that there's going to be a lot of greenhouse gas benefits and emission benefits, plus reducing the PM emissions that we've talked about. Because we run on diesel, we're all the time looking at reducing our consumption of diesel, improving our energy efficiency of the locomotives. We work hard to keep the equipment in good working order. We have on-track systems in place to reduce the friction between the wheel and the rail for the entire train. We have systems in place that aid the locomotive engineers to modify, to pace the trains, adjust acceleration and braking efforts in order to conserve fuel. We monitor the performance and reward high-performing locomotive engineers by giving them fuel cards that they can use for their personal vehicles. All these things have allowed us to increase our fuel efficiency, as I described earlier. We are committed to pursuing new programs and new technologies that further help us to reduce our carbon footprint. And I'd like to thank you again for your efforts, and thank you, Lisa, for the work with us on getting this pulled together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. With that, what I'd like to do is invite everyone to come out to see the locomotive and really see the example of what the technology looks like, and it's show and tell is always a lot better. So we'll probably just, since we don't want everyone up on the locomotive waiting in line, if we, 5 or 6 folks want to go out at a time, and we can stay in here and get coffee, pastries, please enjoy it. But yeah, we'll just head on out, and yeah, we'll do the tours. One thing I will say, this is an active rail line, so please be safe. Be aware of any tripping hazards. Please do not go onto the tracks. And if BNSF personnel asks you to move, or it's for your safety. So again, just be safe and be aware. So thank you very much.